You knew that you're a misfit in this society. And I said, oh, Steve, come on, don't be such a cheap Jew.
You injured him when you referred to him as a cheap Jew. Did your wife ever apologize?
I don't know.
Did you?
This is the plaintiff, Stephen E. Shovers. He claims he was so impressed with the defendant's ideas, he volunteered to be media coordinator when the defendant ran for the New York State Assembly. He was led to believe he'd be reimbursed for his out-of-pocket expenses. In the end, however, he got absolutely nothing for his efforts. He's suing for $3,000 for his expenses, a color TV he won in their raffle, and his camera's electronic flash. These are the defendants, Reginald A. Bowman, a member of the school board, and his wife, Jenny. They say the plaintiff knew theirs was a grassroots campaign and there was no money. That all they could afford was feeding the volunteers. They feel betrayed by the man whom they welcomed into their family. They're accused of playing politics. The defendants have filed a countersuit for $3,000 for defamation of character, slander, fraud, and breach of contract.
All parties to the case right. Hi again, everybody. I'm Carol Martin, back in session with the People's Court. Case number 1 today, politics as usual. Racial tensions running high in Judge Koch's courtroom today. Let's see how things turn out as this case gets underway.
And come to order.
As I understand it, Mr. Shovers, you're suing for a number of items, one of which relates to your camera.
Yes, sir.
And as I understand it, that can be disposed of by just returning it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why don't you do that first and get rid of that item?
If he has ours, Your Honor.
Do you have her flash?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Return it, please.
Be glad to.
What I don't understand is you had his flash and he had your flash.
You want me to tell you the story?
mistake.
It was an error. We had borrowed his camera. He had lent me the camera. And I had 2 flashes in the case because I had my flash. I had
So
put
it
it
was a
in.
mistake.
It was a mistake.
It was an error, yes,
Okay.
an honest
and it
mistake.
took 4 years to correct this mistake. Okay.
And the
now,
No, don't even go there. Why don't you talk about the wild goose chase you got him onto to return your flash to you?
the flash has just been returned, so
I
I'm not
understand
taking
that, but
any testimony on that.
Your Honor, he's setting us up
I'm not going
for
to
a
take any
fall.
testimony on the flash. You had it, you returned it, that's over. What else are you suing for?
I'm also suing for monies that I spent out of pocket for research in Albany.
How much does it cost to go to Albany?
At the time, I think it was anywhere between $28 and $50 round trip.
Did you expect him to pay that?
At the time, no. But
You expected to pay it in some form.
if he brought it to my attention, yes.
What else are you suing for?
I won a color TV set in a raffle.
Let me see the raffle
Yeah,
ticket.
let him see the raffle ticket. Sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay. Someday there'll be a vacancy here and you can apply.
Thank you. Would you recommend me, please?
No.
Thank you, too.
Let's have it. Now, tell me what you know about this TV set.
We had a raffle. Mr. Shovers was aware of the fact that he was going to get his television set, and he made no pressure on me whatsoever because he was supposed to be our friend at that
But
time.
he did win the television
Yes,
set.
he
Is
did.
that
We're
right?
not denying that, Your Honor.
Okay. What was that television set worth?
I have a fax from Sony Corporation,
Oh, we never said something.
and I have a 13-inch Trinitron color TV, suggested value $289.
Your Honor, I could go
price.
to Belmont Avenue, the block over from where I live, and get a color TV for under... I could get 2 TVs for that price.
You said a moment ago that the plaintiff set you up.
Yes, Your Honor.
In what way?
We thought he was a friend. He has eaten in my mother's house. He has shared Christmases with us. Okay? And I'm really ashamed of even knowing you. You're such a damn liar.
Well,
You used our kindness because you knew that you're a misfit in this society.
supposing he were to say terrible things about you.
He has.
In this courtroom, wouldn't you expect me to say to him, I will not permit that?
Yes, Your Honor, and you
Now,
should
why
say that
should
to
I...
me, too.
Right, exactly. Why
But he
should I
pissed
permit
me
you...
off.
Why should I permit you to demean him? It's terrible. Now, you may have
But, Your Honor, I feel violated by him. I really do.
And he feels defrauded.
Oh, please. He? Mr. Court case man? I don't think so.
You have admitted that he is owed a television set, and you haven't given it to him for
But that's not what
more
this
than
case
4
is
years.
about, Your Honor.
Well, it's part of his complaint.
But it's not the entire case.
What else is the case?
Apparently, according to him, we had a breach of contract with him. He came on as a volunteer.
What he says is that...
I was a campaign manager, Your Honor.
Right.
I didn't get one dime.
It's your husband.
That's regardless of the fact. I worked.
Wait a minute.
All the volunteers worked.
Just a minute.
We had 12
As campaign
volunteers
manager
on the campaign.
and wife of the candidate, you are now telling me you'd like to sue him?
Well, of course not, Your Honor, because
you
not
didn't
even
expect
an
any
issue.
payment.
Neither did he when he came on.
Did you have a campaign treasurer?
No, we did not. We were running a grassroots campaign.
But, the law requires that you have a campaign
We were
treasurer.
running a grassroots campaign.
But the law requires
I'm being
that you have a
honest.
campaign.
I'm being honest and forthcoming.
Yes, you are.
We had a committee.
But you didn't have a treasurer.
But we didn't have a
that's the-
permanent structure
that's
because
the-
of the nature of the campaign in
Right.
the neighborhood.
And what's the nature of the countersuit?
When I received the lawsuit at my house, first of all, I was totally chagrined and upset. And I know that I've always had a reputation of being an honest person.
Yeah.
And he knows that. That's why I even befriended him in the first place. I thought he was honest also. All right? Yeah. For him to be doing that to me is defamation of my character as a person.
Was there a single thing that ended the friendship between the two of you?
I think that the single thing that ended the friendship is based around a remark that was made in the campaign headquarters.
What was that?
And
I'll say it. I'm the one that said it.
I think my wife made a remark to him.
We
in
were
the
having a
conversation.
cake sale. And I said, he sat there, everybody was buying cakes and stuff so that we could put some money together for an event we were planning. And he bought one piece of cake. And I said, oh, Steve, come on, don't be such a cheap Jew.
Well, that's not a very
He
nice
said-
remark, is it?
What?
Well,
Is
you
that
got
a very nice remark?
There have been
No.
conversations
There have
that
been
he
other
participated
deep
in
conversations
where we used
that we have gone
that people
into
have
with
said
him.
things about black people in those
Now, hold on.
conversations.
Let me get something straight. May I know what your
I'm Puerto Rican.
ethnic background is? You're Puerto
Born
Rican.
in Puerto Rico, raised in New York.
Okay. Now, you know that there are bigots
Yes.
who say terrible things about Puerto Ricans.
Oh, yeah.
And if they said something terrible, which I won't do, because it's outrageous to do it, but if someone said something, a really vituperative thing, comparable to cheap Jew, they said something, blah, blah, Puerto Rican, wouldn't you go over and slug them?
Your Honor.
Would you not go over?
No,
You would
because I
not.
live in New
You would
York,
say,
and you know what?
oh, that's okay.
That's right. I've done it many times.
I see.
And
Well,
during that time,
Yeah.
I made an apology to Mr. Chauvin.
So you think it's okay, but at least your husband thought it required an
I
apology. Is that right?
apologized to him, and after that time, Mr. Chauvin led me to believe that he was still friendly with me as an
He
individual.
is. You didn't say cheap Jew. It was your wife.
It was not said to be an ethnic remark at all.
What was it intended to be?
I don't know. I didn't even try
what
to
was it
define it
intended
because
to be? A compliment? Do you think an apology was warranted?
I said that night, I says, if I offended you, man, I'm sorry about that, but I don't know why you're taking it like that, because you and I have gotten into a lot of deeper discussions
Let me just say this to
than
you.
that.
Let me just say this to you.
Of course.
Anyone who violates a relationship with a racial, religious, anti-black, anti-Semitic, anti-Puerto Rican, anti-Irish comment, and then says, if I injured you, I apologize. That's no apology. Lots of people do that. And I've always found it outrageous because there's no question that you injured him and his feelings when you referred to him as a cheap Jew. You know it, because you would have felt just as injured if he had referred to you as a cheap Puerto Rican.
Like he hasn't before, okay.
Or some other word.
My husband is a black American man. I'm a Puerto Rican woman.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I wasn't raised that way.
You weren't
And it
raised
wasn't
what way?
To be a bigot or a racist.
Were you raised to say cheap Jew?
No, I'm not no bigot.
Were you raised to say cheap Jew?
What? No.
Of course
It was
not.
in a moment of anger, and then he...
it was in a moment of
And
anger.
I'm telling you
Yes,
the truth.
I'm glad you are.
But that's not what this case really is about.
Let me just say
with me and him.
Listen to me. My purpose in discussing it at length as we have is simply to try to convey to you that there is no explanation, that it is adequate, and that what you should have done then and what you should do now, and I am without the power to compel you, is to say, I sincerely apologize for my anti-Semitic remark and ask you to forgive me. Are you capable of saying that?
No. That's
Okay,
him.
we're going to take a little recess, and I will be back.
Really deep-seated feelings here in the courtroom, but let's see what they're saying on the website poll. So far, my goodness, this is flipped, because before the defendant was holding a lead just about the same numbers the other way around, though. Now the plaintiff is in the lead, and not by a huge margin, but so far, this is the way it looks. How will it turn out, though? Who will win it? Plaintiff or defendant? Stay with us, and we'll get the verdict. And we are back now at People's Court, going over to Manhattan Mall to say hello to my friend Harvey Levin, the group there, and to talk about politics as usual. That's this case, but lots of underlying tension here.
It is indeed, Carol. It is the 90s, obviously, and a lot of people here don't think much of politicians. What do you say?
Pass.
Plaintiff or defendant? You told me before.
Sorry, plaintiff.
How come?
Well, she's very remorseful in her remarks.
Plaintiff.
Why?
They should have been a little more upfront in the beginning. I believe that he should get his TV.
What about the bus fare? Should he get the bus fare?
Not bus fare.
Not the bus fare?
No.
No, I don't think he should get the bus fare. Just the money for the television.
Did the racial issues mean anything to you?
It meant a lot to me because they should have said it to him. They could have other ways of avoiding a situation. They could have said something else that I don't really know how to say it. They could have, instead of saying that, they could just put him to the side and actually spoke to him and told him how they felt in their heart.
And the real issue, Carol, is does it really matter what the defendant said to the plaintiff, the wife said to the plaintiff, or is this a lock simply because he was entitled to his expenses? Let's find out.
$3,000 at stake, Harv. Okay, here comes Judge Koch back in the courtroom now. Let's hear the verdict.
When a candidate runs for office, in order to protect the candidate, the law provides that if the candidate has a campaign treasurer and campaign committee, that there's no personal liability. You didn't do that. And I find that he was entitled to a television set, having won the lottery, and I'm going to allow $200 for that set, and you've established $28 for your transportation. The defendant asserted, in effect, a counterclaim, $3,000 for defamation, but has not established that defamation took place, so I'm dismissing the counterclaim and awarding a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $228.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, the plaintiff gets less than 10% of what he sued for. Here comes the defendant, the political future, and up in the air now, possibly, after what we heard in the courtroom. But I want to ask your wife something.
Okay, certainly.
You said that this was a private issue between you and the plaintiff. The comment was made in private.
Yes.
And now it's public, however. Now it's out here, and you have an opportunity maybe to take care of it right here. Would you like to be a bigger person than that private person and maybe take care of it right here with a public apology to the defendant, to the
I will
plaintiff?
apologize to all the people that I offended that are of the Jewish faith, but I feel so hurt and betrayed by Steve Shovers. And it's not about his ethnicity with me. That argument was a private moment, and it wasn't meant as a racial slur. It really was. I always stop being so cheap and don't be a cheap Jew, you know. And it's not the first time that it's happened between he and I. And for him to make it the issue, I have nothing to say to him. I really don't. I'm very hurt about this. But I am not a racist or a bigot. That is not in my nature.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Both. Okay, Josephine's waiting for you. The plaintiff, Mr. Shovers, steps out, and we never heard your reaction to having that comment leveled at you?
I was very offended. I thought the comment was outrageous, whether it was meant in jest, whether it was a private moment. If Mrs. Bowman would like to make an apology publicly, I would gladly forgive her. But since she does not want to make that apology, I'm just saying that I'm surprised that she couldn't rise to the occasion to be and do the right thing.
Okay. Josephine's waiting for you with your paperwork right down the hallway this way. We'll send it back to Carol and Harvey now.
Okay, Kurt, thank you. Harvey, this was not a defamation case per se, but what do you have to prove to win such a case?
Well, you have to prove, number one, the statement is false. Number two, you have to prove damages. You have to prove that not just that this was a, it hurt my feelings, but it hurt you in the community, accusing somebody, for example, of having a loathsome disease. Here, we didn't have a situation like that. I think the defendant's wife was just awful in this case. Awful for not apologizing. I mean, it's the least you can do. What did you feel about that?
Well, every bigot thinks that they're not a bigot. But, you're always your best friend is so-and-so, but you really hate them.
Well put, may I say. And finally, what do you say?
Because if it was her, she would want an apology. She would get upset because she didn't get an apology.
You know what, Carol? You say that she'd be upset. She denied she'd be upset in court, but I think if the shoe were on the other foot, she would be really, really angry.
Dead on. I agree with you. I think you're right. And an apology wouldn't have been the hardest thing, maybe, but for her. So we learned from this one. Next case coming up now. Litigants ready to come on in, so let's see what's